Okay, section 4.1.3, what if random is not possible? Bias, inconvenience samples. In lesson 4.1.2, you learned that random samples generally represent populations from which they are selected more closely than intentionally selected samples. Partially for this reason, randomization is an important part of statistics. However, randomly sampling a population is often neither possible nor practical. For example, if you wanted to survey voters in the United States about their choice for a presidential candidate, random sampling might not be practical. Even if you designed a method to select 1,000 names randomly from a population of American voters, how would you find those 1,000 people to survey in a timely and cost-effective manner? Sometimes statisticians are restricted to sampling strategies based on who is available to them, a practice known as convenience sampling. When this sampling technique is used, making valid claims about the population being considered is often impossible. I want you to understand this. Convenience sampling, trying to have valid claims, is often impossible. Consider these ideas as you work on the following. Delilah is a pollster and she wants to know if American voters support a possible federal income tax increase to fund education. She stands outside of a grocery store one evening and surveys every adult who is registered to vote. 62% of the voters Delilah surveys support the tax increase. Can Delilah claim this result is representative of American voters in general? Be sure to justify your thinking. So we need to think about where she was and when she was there. She was outside of a grocery store one evening. So, who did she not survey? Well, she didn't survey people who have to work at night. If any of you do one of those things where the grocery store delivers their groceries to you, she's not going to get those people. What grocery store was she standing in front of? Was she standing in front of the Nugget? If someone doesn't shop at the Nugget, she's not going to be able to talk to them. So any type of person that you can think of that she's not going to be able to survey. B, what population does Delilah's sample actually represent? So it actually represents voters that shop at that grocery store who do not have a job in the evening and live in Delilah's town, right? That's the only thing we can say for sure. How might Delilah improve her sampling technique to better represent the population of American voters? Well, if she wants to stay in front of stores, she needs to go at different times of day. She would also need to go in front of different grocery stores, right? Not just the Nugget, but Raley's and Winco and all sorts of different stores. And also, if she's trying to get American voters, she needs to go to more than one town. She can't just do this in whatever little town she's living in. Okay, 4-28. Sometimes pollsters try to predict the sorts of bias that they are likely to introduce into their sampling methods so that they can report their results appropriately. For example, Delilah might notice that many of the voters she surveyed have school-aged children with them, and she might reason that they are more likely than average to support policies that fund public education. For each of the following sampling methods, consider the actual population it could represent. What kind of bias might you expect from these groups when answering Delilah's question from problem 27? What bias might you expect them to have about their own team's research question? Be prepared to share your bias with the class, your ideas with the class. Okay, a call-in survey on a morning television talk show. Well, if I have enough time to watch a morning television talk show, I guess I don't have a 9-to-5 type job, right? It's also call-in, which makes it voluntary. Usually you don't call in if you don't really care, right? You obviously have strong opinions about the subject, so that's going to bias the results as well. Questionnaires mailed to addresses found in an online database. Well, how did you get my address? Did I volunteer for this database? So you mail it to me. If I could care less, I'm probably going to throw it away. So the answers you get are, again, people that feel strongly about the subject, so that's going to bias your results. A survey of every student on the school bus. Well, if we're still talking about the funding of education, if you're going to ask students on a bus, in theory, students would want more funding, so that's going to be a biased sample. Okay, make sure you read problem 4-29. It talks about randomly choose clusters to sample. It also talks about stratified sampling and random sampling. And then you are supposed to apply this to the survey questions you've been working on. Okay, in 1988, a committee of the Physicians Health Study Research Group released the results of a 5-year experiment conducted on over 22,000 male physicians aged 40 to 84. The research on this sample suggested that the participants who took an aspirin every other day had a lower rate of heart attacks. Can you conclude from this experiment that aspirin reduces the risk, of heart attacks for all people? All people. Male physicians 40 to 84, so no. Can you conclude from this experiment that the aspirin reduces heart attack for all men? All men, age 40 to 84, so no, not all men are that age. Can you conclude from this experiment that aspirin is linked to reduced heart attacks for all men aged 40 to 84? Well, these are only physicians, right? Physicians know a lot more about health and tend to take better care of themselves, so no. Can you conclude from this experiment that aspirin reduces heart attacks for male physicians aged 40 to 84? Male physicians aged 40 to 84? It seems like a good experiment to me. So yes, we can conclude that aspirin every other day reduces heart attack for exactly those people. Can you conclude from this experiment that male physicians aged 40 to 84 should take aspirin? Why or why not? So while the results say that exactly male physicians between those age had lower rates of heart attack, we do not know what the side effects are. So you don't want to encourage people to start taking an aspirin every other day if you're not sure of what the side effects are. Okay, hopefully this helped you with your bookwork.